Hello, it's been a long time since I made my last video that wasn't about boxing. Well, this time I wanted to say something about this all these celebrity deaths. Uh, in the music business, the music world. There has been a lot of really since 2014. This started a lot of famous, especially older uh, rock stars and famous musicians have died. Really, first I think. Well, I know Jack Bruce and Lou Redding were one of perhaps the first ones. It started in late 2014, and especially until 2017, there was just seemed to be never ending, this wave of deaths among famous musicians. I just think that is at least a little bit peculiar because, well, when it comes to people like Lemmy and Lou Reed and these guys, Leonard Cohen, they were kind of old and I guess their time had just come, but there are a few who are have been kind of suspicious. That's what I am going to talk about. Actually, one of the two last great musicians who died, and one was first was George Michael. George Michael died in just before or after, was it Christmas 2016? Yeah, it was actually during Christmas, and what is suspicious? Well, first of all, he was 53 only. Yes, he had been struggling with health before, but he had been through a bad pneumonia while in Vienna, but he got through it. He was not a weak person, of course. He was a guy who was obviously physically active, and he was not some frail kind of, drug addict or whatever. But anyway, anyway, sorry. What is most suspicious is that there was no cause of death that was immediately determined, but his manager said it was heart failure, and it says that post-mortem was undertaken 4 days later to determine the cause of death, but it was inconclusive. And then it took like 3 months for them almost to, well, no, 3 months to finally, kind of determine or, what he died from. And it says it was dilated cardiomyopathy with myocarditis and a fatty liver. Anyway, it was 3 months actually that it took for him to be buried also, which was really strange. I mean, why would it take anyone 3 months to just to find out what he died from? I mean, shouldn't that take like a week or something? 2 weeks maybe. That's very suspicious. And my George Michael was a guy who was always seemed at odds with the establishment, the music business itself. He had been through a lawsuit against Sony before, of course, and it just seems that he kind of, and he never. His last album came out in 2004, actually. Oh, so he only had 5 albums released, but one of them was, of course, Soul Cover. So that in itself says something, that he was kind of not really treated that well by the music industry, and I think he was just shunned by them, and then perhaps he wanted to people to know just what kind of people that stand behind all this, and yeah. So that was a very, suspicious kind of affair. While the other great star whose death was suspicious was Chris Cornell. He died 17th of May last year. Yeah. Well, this was even more. I mean, they were actually of same age, more or less, when they died. These guys. That's, of course, just a coincidence. But even more, I mean, what is even more suspicious this time is that Chris Cornell, he had no real reason to kill himself. Of course, he was a happily married father, and his old man had, again gotten together, and everything was going well for them. And I can believe that he has some kind of depression. I read about it, that he was, as a teen, he suffered a kind of depression called Black Dog. Anyway, since then he had been fine, I guess. But I just don't know. I mean, why, man, even if some say that was, not intentional, but anyway, I don't know. It says, oh, sorry, it was a rule to be suicide by hanging. Oh, yeah, that's right. Well, I'm trying to see. There were some really, details there that didn't really check out. Yeah. It says that Cornell publicly talked about his struggle with depression, isolation, suicidal thoughts several times throughout his life. But when was that? I mean, was that? I think. I don't think that was, really what was happening back then. I mean, at this time, because unless his marriage was unhappy, I think. I mean, to be so depressed that you want to take your own life, and you have kids, good family, and your career is back on track. I just don't know how anyone can be able to take his own life. It's really suspicious. It says that was his bodyguard was at his hotel room at 11:30 p.m. to help him with his computer, which was not working at the time. And she talked to him at 11:35 p.m. Was alarmed by what she heard, and then the bodyguard found him, and yeah. It was I just don't know. This is it looks like a suicide, alright, but who knows what it could have been. I mean, there are many theories about uh, deaths of people, like Whitney Houston, for instance, that she kind of was killed, not that she died, but I think another friend of mine who is really, into this, he has stated that Chris Cornell was sacrificed for some reason. There has long been speculations that the music industry is actually led by, people who are kind of, let's just say, evil people who don't like anyone who tries to be too, independent and go his own way. If you are a big star, that is. If you are not, then it is up to you, really. But if they are making big money on you, then they will never allow you to spoil that. Yes. So as I said, have been so many deaths successively of famous musicians that it just seems like, kind of too much to be that should be, just what it is, what they say it was, that it's just a big coincidence. I don't know, really. Well, I just found this link where it says that it is speculated that Chester Bennington and Chris Cornell were murdered to cover up a pedophile ring. Well, they were about to expose a list of pedophiles, and they both died about the same way, hanging. But it's the kind of that has been used the most. It is proven. Besides, the pills, it is the hanging that has most been used by people to cover up a murder. To make it look like suicide. Same thing happened to Arturo Gatti, obviously the boxer, who was murdered in Brazil. And yeah, actually the Chester Bennington death is actually it said that the authorities were investigating it as a homicide. Well, it is actually, as I said, very suspicious. And something I believe they knew too much, like they had too much on certain people high up, so they were killed. And yeah, What else to say? Hmm. It says that this guy, Randy Cody, is kind of an investigator. Says that well, this sounds really far out, but that Chris Cornell was murdered because he was about to expose pedophiles involved in Pizzagate, a debunked conspiracy theory holding that a child sex trafficking ring linked to Hillary Clinton was being run out of Comet Ping Pong, a Washington D.C. pizzeria. So, and Chester Bennington has been molested as a child, so he kind of really felt strongly about the whole thing. So I guess he was murdered by pedophiles or people working for them. It's really kind of scary, isn't it? It's really, I mean, well, of course, the not many news sites or channels would ever be so open to telling, even if they knew something. I think these people are just so powerful that they would risk a libel a libel suit. So they just give up, and take the easy way out. That's really a shame. A libel or libel. I don't know how you say it, but anyway, that's. Anyway, Chris Cornell's brother has been really, vocal about, it all just being a suicide and nothing else, but I just don't know really. As I said, it was so many. I mean, in the past, David Bowie, Scott Wayland, yeah, that's right, Scott Wayland, and just a few people who. Well, David Bowie was sick, of course, but who knows? Even he may have been made sick by someone. Because he was making a comeback. He was gone for 10 years. David Bowie was gone for 10 years before he returned in 2013 with that album. I forgot its name, but anyway, why was he gone for so long? Like 10 years. Isn't that really long for a guy like Bowie? Like a very creative genius. And then, just as he's about to make another album, he suddenly gets ill, and that's it. that whole, I mean, Blackstar, if you watch that video, there are some scenes there that even look like they might be a clue to something. I mean, those, for instance, those those guys on the cross, with their, you notice their heads are covered, but they are moving their bodies like in a very suggestive way, like a perverse way almost. That can be a hint also to something like, for instance, some kind of sexual abuse, but that those people are not They have their heads covered because they are not allowed to say the truth. So, yeah, it's really scary because it's just now starting to come, to light these informations that we never knew. We never thought that it could be that fucked up, in the music business. And yeah, it's in movie business. It's been, of course, revealed now that there were more than a few sexual offenders and maniacs that were, among the most powerful men in Hollywood. But I wonder how long it will take to expose the most powerful man in the music industry. That may take a while. Yeah, so that was about it. See you. Bye bye.